You're listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM. Presented by McDivitt Law Firm.
To becoming a good lawyer himself, it was quite the dramatic change there. Quite the shift, David.
Yeah, I still wonder if maybe I made a mistake.
Right? What kind of miles per gallon does the F-16 get, by the way?
About 17 miles per something, some fragment, some minuscule fragment of a gallon.
I threw the lawyer a hard one right there.
You know, I kid you not. My buddies, I've got some of these college buddies. We circulate a text thread that's definitely not appropriate for work. But one of my buddies was in an airplane on the East Coast. He's got a buddy who flies for some, Air Force demo team, and he flies like a P-51 Mustang.
Cool.
But he was up in the heat, so my buddy got to ride as a guest. This is yesterday, and he sent me photos. They also fly next to F-16s. And so there's an F-16 just 6 feet off his wing.
Oh, man.
It was these videos and the footage he has is incredible.
That is cool. That's my dream. That was the kind of when flying was flying, man. Those old Mustangs. That was cool stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What a dream. Well, hey, man, how are you doing? How's the family? You've been staying busy. I'm sure you have. Huh? I saw you on TV the other day. Yeah,
I've been doing a lot of TV. You know, I'm staring at it right now. I've got a home studio set up. I cobbled together some lights that we had when my mom and my daughter made a movie together of Beauty and the Beast. They did this about 2 summers ago. My daughter was in kindergarten at the time, so I stole these lights from my mom and dad. And I put them up. So I've got these big umbrellas in my office. I've got a chair set up. I've got a few tripods. I mean, I look like I know what I'm doing, and I have no clue what I'm doing.
Right? That's great. No, it looked good, man.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to do something, man, to look good. So I've got these TV stations I have a great relationship with, and just really trying to help folks out, on answering questions that they might have about how the coronavirus might impact legal rights across the board, whether it's employment, whether it is estate planning, it's liability issues. I mean, this coronavirus has just rocked everybody's world,
right,
in so many levels. Obviously, most dramatically, those who've lost a loved one, but or those who are seriously ill because of it. But just on every other level, I mean, in every fabric of society, we're impacted by this.
Right, and that's the thing. There's so many unanswered questions, and there's going to be so many ramifications from this once we can look in the rearview mirror.
Gosh, I know.
And that's the thing. It's like, what is going to be the new normal?
Yeah.
We will have a question from a listener online. You can always submit questions to the website if you want to stay anonymous. But we got a cat who didn't want his name named because he and his ex-wife both listen to the station. So he said, she's probably listening. But in love last year, and then since they've been divorced and they don't like each other at all, I guess it's really bad. And last year, when they filed their taxes, filed it with her bank account. So he's assuming both the stimulus checks are going to go into her account. So how you help that guy out is up to you here in a few. Mull that one over, David, because I have a feeling it's not good for that guy. He's not going to be getting that anytime soon.
It depends. Well, yeah, we'll talk to him.
So you can both grow up and put on your big boy and big girl pants. What else here? You want to jump over to Citizen Greg?
Yeah.
He joins us from the Steel City. Let me make sure now. We're off the phones. I don't want to lose anybody. I believe. Greg, you there?
Hey.
Hey, good morning to you, my friend.
Hello.
So, let's see here. Make sure. Can you hear him, David?
Yeah, I can. Hey, Greg, how are you doing?
Very good. Yourself?
Doing what? You down in Pueblo?
Yay.
All right. I used to live there.
So you just got married, right, Grego? And you're wondering if it's going to affect some of your disability, or what exactly?
We want to get married. We're living together,
okay.
But now with all this, I want to make sure if something happens to me that she gets what we have, what I have. I mean, like the house. I own a house that's paid for. We have a bunch of cars that are paid for, and I'm on Medicare and disability. And my biggest question is, when I get married, because she has a job at a bank, is this going to affect any of my income? Because I kind of counted on it, and like I said, we just want to put ourselves in a pinch.
Right, and real quick, let's pause this for a second there, David. Is this a common thing now with this happening? People kind of taking care of business just in case the unfortunate end result?
Time.
Really?
You're seeing it, I would say, mostly with parents of minor children who kind of go into a panic mode because they realize just how
important it is.
Yeah, and how fleeting life can be. And so what I'm seeing folks do, and Greg, not to get off topic on your question here, but I think it's helpful for people to know. I mean, you can take a couple of steps right now at home to try to just protect your family in case something happens. You fall gravely ill, you're incapacitated for a period of time, or in case you die. To make sure that if you've got children, for example, you've outlined a guardianship for your children. Who do you want to take care of your kids if you're not able to do it? And, you can type it out and have a couple people witness it. But, you need to outline who specifically will be the guardian of your children. And then, a good practice pointer is make sure you've cleared that with that person. If it's your, you're an adult and it's your adult sister and you want her to be the guardian of your kids if something happens to you and you don't obviously have a spouse in that situation, make sure your sister is cool with that. And you start to see that sometimes with divorced couples too. If there's a directive that you can't have your children go to the other spouse for one particular reason or another, at least write that out.
One thing I wouldn't see coming from this thing, but it makes total sense.
Yeah.
So what specific Grego's situation here?
So Greg, help me understand this. Your big concern is your disability. Is that right? You don't want to lose disability by getting married?
Right. I don't want to lose because I get a nice amount every month because I was older when I stopped working because of physical problems. I had broken a hip and a knee and everything else, but and now I got Medicare and she has insurance. I just want to make sure they're not going to kick me off insurance and we have to pay insurance premiums, or they're not going to take away from my check because I have a higher income now because I don't have bills like most people have. You know what I mean? We own our house. We just
right. No, you're very fortunate.
One car payment.
Yeah, so that's and we maybe have to talk offline a little bit about that to get some of the details because there will be some. Kind of depending on your age and whether you're already, are you getting other types of income as well? Have they factored that in? So
no.
Let's look. A great question, Greg. Let's dive in a little bit offline just so I can better understand it because I'd have to get into some particulars of the situation. Okay. I don't want to do online. And if you're okay with that, or
I'll tell you what,
we can get your number and we can call you back too.
We can get you on hold there, Grego, and we'll take care of you here off the air, and you get more to him. So it's interesting though that is a common theme. People trying to button up their business just in case the worst scenario happens. How sad.
Yeah, and Will, look, we don't. My firm doesn't do this kind of work, so I'm not trying to promote our firm here. But I really think people need to get with a specialized estate planning lawyer if they're concerned about how to really iron out the intricacies of this, creating a will and maybe an estate plan for your children, for your family, how you want your whatever you own, whether it's little or a lot, how you want that divested in case you die. But basically in Colorado, you can get by with a handwritten will if it's entirely handwritten. And this gets us into those, like those murder mystery movies or Knives Out. I don't know if you've seen that, but all of the drama of like the mid 20th century British murder mystery literature that I gorge on. But it's in Colorado, handwrite your will, do it entirely handwritten, entirely. Don't type any part of it, entirely handwritten, and you can get by without even a witness.
Wow. See the stuff you learn. So yeah. Can you write up a letter so I can give everything to my dog?
You're listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM. Presented by McDivitt Law Firm.
Face, Ross.
I miss your hugs. Will we ever hug again, David? What do you think?
Oh, my gosh. In the face of this, you bet. I'm willing to risk it.
We'll risk it. We'll hug. We'll put that. That'll go viral. Our first hug post-coronavirus. So we got a guy who wonders about his monies because he and his wife are now divorced and not exactly liking one another. We got Citizen Pike with an interesting one here on line one in regards to his wife, who is, I assume, your wife is working from home right now, Pike, is that right? Oh, you there?
I'm working from home.
Okay, she's not right now.
Right.
So tell us the scenario then. So she is asymptomatic, right?
No, she is diabetic, so she's immunocompromised.
Okay.
So she's high risk, and her doctor does not want her returning to work even after this settles down. Like if businesses reopen, say May 1st, he doesn't want her returning back to work until the total pandemic is over because she's high risk due to being immunocompromised.
Okay, so right now she's not working then? She's just at home?
Correct.
Okay. And so the question is what then?
So the question is if her boss terminates her because she's unable to return to work after the country opens, even though the pandemic would still be going on, would she still have legal recourse?
With advice from her doctor, David.
Doctor's orders.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. I have to chew on that. There are a couple of issues at play there, too. I mean, she may be eligible for some kind of disability. I don't know if there's a disability policy through her work, short-term disability that she may qualify for. Right now there is legislation that's been enacted, and we've got some regulations in Colorado and some federal regulation as well that protects people who are who have the virus. As far as people who are at risk, though, for the virus, there is an argument that they might be protected by a disability act that would prevent them from being maybe fired just because they have that disability. And being diabetic, I don't know that necessarily gets you there with everything that's happening.
Yeah, right. What is the disability in this day and age? We mentioned earlier.
Yeah, that could change.
What is the new normal? We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, too, I mean, she might be able to, gosh, that's a tough one because, I mean, generally in Colorado, employers can terminate somebody unless it can be shown that it was for that they've essentially fired somebody who qualifies as a protected class. And so there are certain types of disabilities that might be protected, and that's why I bring that up first. They might be able to work something out with her, some kind of accommodation with a doctor's note. I mean, she may be able to, depending on the size of the employer, she may qualify for Family Medical Leave Act, which would give her an extra, depending on if she's already been using that or not. I mean, it could be up to 12 weeks of unpaid time where they would have to keep her job open.
What type of work does she do, by the way, Pike? Don't say where she works, but just what she does.
She's a dog groomer.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, because, I mean, this coronavirus could have a whole new list of disabilities, right?
Yeah,
because
that's the thing. And as a dog groomer, too, I mean, most grooming facilities they don't employ enough to fall underneath the jurisdiction or the Family Medical Leave Act. And that can be tricky, Pike. And that's the thing. I tend to be long-winded in how I explain things because I'm trying to look at it from every angle. Right. But I think maybe her best bet is to try to work out some kind of accommodation with her employer and say, look, here, I've got this doctor's note. The doctor, I'm happy to come back to work when the pandemic dies down to the point where, maybe we have a vaccine or it's clear that it's, we're not at risk for that community spread anymore.
And who knows, they may be extending furloughs for people who have, have disease that may make them more susceptible to problems with the coronavirus. And we don't know what the future holds, huh?
That's right. And if they're going to let her go, but, they ought to.
My mind is being blown, man. Blown.
Yeah, but let her go now so she can apply for the augmented unemployment benefits,
right.
too.
That's actually a good point now.
There are some people who are going to make more money on unemployment than they did when they were employed because of the bump up.
That's a good point. And the safety is, of course, I think, upmost in this day and age. So maybe that's the best angle, just to cut loose now, start collecting those benefits, and wait for this whole thing to end.
You're listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM. Presented by McDivitt Law Firm.
Right. We have a whole area of our website where we have links to all the TV stuff I've been doing, answering a lot of these COVID-related questions. So if people have questions,
very cool,
general questions, have them go to the website. I mean, if you can hear me, go to the website, McDivittLaw.com. We're an essential business. We are still open, but our physical buildings are closed to try to do everything we can to keep our clients and our team members safe.
Smart.
But we are still practicing law every single day. And trying to answer these questions for people, too.
Good enough. All right, we're going to get to a dude who wants his monies, who doesn't, from the stimulus act, but it's probably sitting in his ex-wife's bank account, and she hates his guts. What he does in a moment. First, we were talking to Nicole off the air. It was kind of a complex deal, but basically worked for CPA, thinks she might have been exposed to coronavirus. She's been sick there since February. She hasn't worked there since February. So she wanted to know because she forced them to tell her if anyone else got sick in the office. And find out if, in fact, maybe they were exposed, but you said that's kind of hard to do with HIPAA laws, right?
Well, HIPAA laws, do restrict what an employer can say, both to its employees, and then also is there an obligation to make any kind of pronouncement to the public. And you're seeing that with these grocery stores, with Walmart. I mean, they, King Soopers, for example, they announced that somebody who worked there tested positive, but they're announcing that, but they're not saying which section of the store they worked in. And I think that a lot of people are irate and say, well, was it in the produce section or was it the meat section? And they have no obligation to divulge that. And the health department has no obligation either. In fact, HIPAA laws do protect that kind of disclosure because you can really start to narrow down who it might be. And so an employer has to be very careful about what they say. As my son says, very careful about what they what they disclose. And so typically an employer's obligation to its employees, if one of their colleagues comes down with something like coronavirus, is to say, look, we have reason to believe that somebody in the office may have contracted this, and so we're just we're going to be taking these extra precautions. And if they believe that person actually came into the office, there's CDC guidelines and OSHA guidelines that basically require that they shut the office down and do a deep clean, block out any access to the facility for 24 hours. So my advice to somebody who doesn't work for a company anymore is to honestly, you've got to figure out what are you really trying to understand here. Because if you have all of the symptoms, whether or not you're tested, you get the benefit of the doubt for certain kinds of benefits that are out there that may or may not apply to your specific situation. But if you're trying to say to yourself, do I have coronavirus? From what I understand within the medical community is if you've got all of the symptoms of it, whether or not we're able to test you and confirm a positive diagnosis, you can treat it as if you have it. And therefore, then obviously make sure that you don't do anything to spread it to somebody else.
Right.
And the law then is allowing you to qualify for these XYZ benefits that may apply in your situation.
And you said when it comes to trying to seek legal recourse against employers, because you don't know, especially with this disease, how are you going to prove that you got it from that workplace at that specific time?
That's right.
It's almost impossible unless you go home. And I was in a vault for 18 hours a day at my house. Then I was in my car and I was in the office. That was it for 3 weeks, maybe. Even then, it's going to be sketchy.
It's tricky. I mean, there is a way to do it, but boy, the burden of proof is such that it really is tricky to prove that you got it because you were exposed to so and so, in the course and scope of your employment. Right.
Now that's the crazy thing. I mean, legally speaking, things are going to change. Just like everything in this world, things will be changed once it's all said and done. And especially the HIPAA laws. The one time you need to know who's testing positive stuff, and you can't. Oh man, this whole thing.
Yeah, but I what's happening? A lot of people are self-disclosing that to their friends. The people. It's a matter. Say, hey, look, just so you know, I have it. Make sure that make sure you're sensitive around your family. I think there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on.
Right. Well, we talked last month when we were about, when AIDS first came out, it was not prosecutable as far as the not disclosing and passing it on. Right. But then by the time, once legal ramifications were set, it became prosecutable, and many people were prosecuted for not telling their partners they had AIDS. And this again, that could be the new norm as we go to the future. All right, it's, let's see, 8:42. We got time for the last one. Guy didn't want to use his name because he and his ex listen to the program, so he doesn't want to give her a heads up, I guess. But, dude, I assume you're probably not the only one. In love, filing taxes with his wife just last year. Since then, things fell apart. They're no longer living together. They're separated, not legally divorced yet. Again, they used her account when it came to filing taxes last year. So his check, more than likely, sitting in her account. What happens? Okay, so if they haven't filed for 2019 yet, there might still be a chance he can squeak in a 2019 return. Oh, I see. But maybe, dude, right? Maybe, man. And you can't exactly call her and say, excuse me, I know you hate me, but can you check your account and see if... so you owe me $1,200. If you just filed... and there's a chance. If you filed today, dude. And if it's too late, let's assume... The race to the bank is because you want to make sure that they haven't already deposited in her account. Right. They will deposit in that account. And I want to say they were saying by today, most digital money deposits would be made or at least pending. So I think he's probably missed that boat. Is there anything else? Well, yeah. You can try to get a court order. Yeah, you didn't sound too good, dude. Oh, you were like, you almost cried there. I think you were like,
no.
yeah.
Yeah, here's the thing. You can try to get a court order to make sure that she regarding the division of that, how you're going to allocate it. Courts may not be open for that. That could be a challenge.
Right.
Best practice is, I think, to just get on the phone and say, hey, I might not get the court order now, but I'll get it later.
Oh, man.
And so, you pay me now or pay me later.
Right. Do the old, hey, baby, how you doing?
Yeah.
It's me, Doug. I miss you so much, the way you smell. I miss going out to dinner with you, even though we can't go to dinner anymore. But you know what I'm saying? I was wondering if I could come over and maybe to log onto your bank account and do some transfers. Maybe? Oh, I have a feeling she's going to hang up on the dude.
Oh, gosh. But, like you said,
tough.
Ross, this is not uncommon. This is happening all over the place.
And unfortunately, even more now with people being self-isolated. I guess that's one of the common themes here. People learn to hate one another when they're all locked in together.
Well, no, I know. I mean, that's the thing. I have no anecdotal evidence of this in Colorado, for example. I mean, you see it in some other countries. But I think there are going to be some disrupted marriages coming out of this. I mean, I think this has been tough on a lot of people for a lot of reasons. This
thing is so weird. It's so dynamic, and it has affected so many different avenues of life. It just, the whole thing, I said time and time again, this is crazy.
Thank you for listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM, presented by McDivitt Law Firm.